All right, welcome everybody. We continue to try to, on the Daily Show, the podcast, etc., bring you sort of the latest news. Normally, this is not a program where if we wait 90 minutes, we might have something different to report to you. But because ballots are still being counted in a number of key states in the presidential election, and there are even things still happening at the Senate level and House level, we're trying to figure out how to bring you the latest information at whatever time we do it. And at this point in time, we do have changes to report to you from where we were yesterday. No winner has yet been declared in the presidential election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, I'm going to get to the vote counts and to the scenarios momentarily, but what you must understand is that all of our worst worries about how Donald Trump would react have happened. We covered some of them yesterday, and we will cover some more of them today. Donald Trump, of course, declaring victory late Tuesday, early Wednesday, 2 a.m., saying we've won. Yesterday, Donald Trump and Eric Trump and Rudy Giuliani and others saying on Twitter, we won Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has not yet been called, and the margin, it continues to shrink away from Donald Trump's favor and in Joe Biden's favor, although Trump still leads, and I will show you what those numbers are. And the latest, which we will also be covering today extensively, is that the Trump campaign now claims to be filing multiple lawsuits in various states. In some states, we know that they've actually filed them. In others, they've said they are filing them, although we don't actually know. And we have heard from Joseph R. Biden Jr. as well. Joe Biden giving a short but very appropriate and, quite frankly, very presidential speech in Wilmington, Delaware yesterday. So we are going to be covering that. All of that being said, let's now get into the numbers. And again, I am going to do a screen share with you guys. This seemed to work well yesterday and give us a pretty good sense of what is going on. So let's start there. First and foremost, what has changed since yesterday? Wisconsin has been called for Joe Biden with a less than 1% margin of victory. Donald Trump says he has filed for a recount there and is emailing supporters asking for money to fund that recount. Michigan has also been called for Joe Biden. And in fact, as we get slightly updated numbers, literally as we're speaking, Michigan now about 2.7 points in favor of Joe Biden, a bigger margin of victory in both Michigan and Wisconsin. Actually, Wisconsin is basically the same margin of victory that Trump had over Hillary in 2016, a larger margin of victory for Joe Biden in Michigan this year than what Donald Trump had over Hillary Clinton in 2016. What is still, before we go any further, Alaska has still not been called, although we know it will go for Donald Trump, currently leading 2-1 almost with half the vote reporting. They're just slow to count there, a lot of rural areas, but we're going to continue tracking and following that, of course. But in my count, I am already giving those 3 electoral votes to Donald Trump. In the meantime, Arizona is a source of some controversy. And later in today's program, I'm going to bring you video of Trump supporters gathering at the Capitol in Phoenix, Arizona, and then sort of moving over and joining another protest at the Maricopa County Election Center, I believe it's called, where they are demanding that they count the vote. And they are mad at Fox News because not only the Associated Press, which is what we are using here, but also Fox News called Arizona, although there are people who feel it is still too close. With 88% reporting, Joe Biden is up by 2.4 there, about 68,500 votes. So what does the race hinge on if we grant Joe Biden Arizona, which most but not all currently do? It hinges on the states of Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. And again, conceding Arizona to Joe Biden would put him at 264 electoral votes, meaning a win in any of these 4 outstanding states, and Joe Biden would be the next president of the United States. The least likely for me is North Carolina. North Carolina now, the vote count has not actually moved for a full 24 hours. We are not exactly sure why, but North Carolina is stuck at 94% reporting. The lead for Donald Trump right now is about 1.4 percentage points, which is equal to about 80,000 votes. I am not counting on North Carolina flipping to Joe Biden. Following that, Joe Biden is currently leading in Nevada. Now, the vote count in Nevada yesterday stopped being updated relatively early, and it had Joe Biden up 0.7 of a point. That lead has now expanded as Nevada, again, this is as of this moment, as Nevada has gone back to counting and reporting votes. Joe Biden's lead has gone from 0.7 of a point to 0.9 of a point. The path for Biden to win is that of majority, an important amount of the remaining votes are from the Vegas area, which went for Hillary Clinton in 2016, anticipating it would go for Joe Biden now. That's the argument for Nevada. With those 6 electoral votes, Joe Biden would get to 270, presuming nothing changes in Arizona, which has been called. We then have the very curious case of Pennsylvania. And to explain what's happening in Pennsylvania, understand that this was the red mirage scenario state. Pennsylvania does not start counting mail-in ballots until the polls close on Election Day. Pennsylvania expected to have favorable numbers for Trump in in-person voting, favorable numbers for Joe Biden in vote by mail. And indeed, on election night, Donald Trump had a lead of 8, even 9 or 10 points, thinking back to different moments on election night. And over time, that lead started to shrink. Yesterday, when I came to you, Joe Biden was down about 7 points in Pennsylvania. And now, as the vote has been counted, as you can see here with this very interesting chart from the New York Times that I'm showing people, as the vote count has gone, Trump's biggest lead was right at about 55%. As the vote count has increased, it has narrowed, now considered 1.8 points by the New York Times, and officially, according to the Associated Press, also 1.8 points separating Donald Trump and Joe Biden. That is about 116,000 vote lead for Trump. The path here for Biden, if you believe there is one, is that there are a bunch of ballots from Pittsburgh, which cannot even legally be counted until tomorrow, and that as the Philadelphia votes continue to be counted, the margins will continue to shrink for Donald Trump and maybe flip to Joe Biden. Of course, if Joe Biden wins Pennsylvania, he wins the election. We then have Georgia. As you can see in Georgia, also, Donald Trump's biggest lead coming right around 33% of the vote being counted. From that point forward, as more and more of the vote has been counted, Donald Trump's lead has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk to the point that his lead is now a mere 0.3 percentage points, or about 13,500 votes. We have 99% reporting in Georgia. So at this point, I don't even want to go into the various models claiming to know how likely is it that it would go one way, how likely is it that it would go the other way. It's extraordinarily close. And if indeed it is the Atlanta ballot that remains out, it could get even closer, and maybe Joe Biden could win it or maybe not. So it is now down to these 4 states. Now, it goes without saying, as I pull up the map, if we give Arizona to Joe Biden, as the Associated Press has done, and Utah, of course, is a Trump state. As I mentioned earlier, even though officially Alaska has not been called for Donald Trump, I am calling it for Donald Trump because it will ultimately go for Donald Trump. If Joe Biden were to win Nevada, that would put him at 270 electoral votes, and this would be over, barring, of course, recounts and lawsuits, which Donald Trump is doing. If Joe Biden were to flip Pennsylvania, that would put him at 284 electoral votes, also 270, above 270, and it would secure this election. If Georgia were to flip to Joe Biden, that would put him at 280 electoral votes, again, securing an electoral victory. And if North Carolina flips to Joe Biden, that would also put him at 279, although I believe North Carolina is the least likely to flip. So the range of scenarios that are remaining are, if Trump wins all 4 of these states, Trump wins re-election with 274 electoral votes. Imagine that Arizona were wrong. That could put Donald Trump at 285. If Arizona stays with Biden, the best Biden could do if he were to get all 4 remaining states, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, it would put Joe Biden at 321 electoral votes. I don't think there's any way that Biden gets North Carolina. So for me, the biggest real possibility for Biden would be 306. I don't particularly think he gets Georgia either. And so if Biden were to get Nevada and Pennsylvania, Joe Biden would win with 290. My prediction was 295. So that could be very, very close. Without Nevada, Joe Biden would have 284. With Nevada instead of Pennsylvania, Joe Biden would have exactly 270 electoral votes. And if that is the case, the proportional apportionment in Nebraska could be the difference maker. Joe Biden got one electoral vote from the 2nd district in Nebraska. If indeed this comes down to Nevada and Joe Biden doesn't get Pennsylvania, doesn't get Georgia, doesn't get North Carolina, Biden will have 270 thanks to that one vote from Nebraska. Without it, it could be the 269 to 269 tie scenario we've been talking about. With it and Nevada, Joe Biden would win 270 to 268. We may know more by tonight. We may know more by tomorrow. Again, checking in on the latest numbers in Pennsylvania with the latest update. Still a 1.8 percentage point lead for Donald Trump as votes are being counted. In Georgia, a 0.3% lead for Donald Trump with 99% reporting. And in Nevada, with 76% reporting and more vote expected there today, a lead of 0.9% for Joe Biden in the state of Nevada. Now, I don't even want to get ahead of myself at this point. There are lots of people who are very confident that Joe Biden is going to win. There are also a lot of people, including Trump's entire family, who claim that Trump has won. They believe Trump really won Nevada. They believe Trump won Georgia. They believe Trump won Pennsylvania. They even believe Trump won Michigan and even potentially Wisconsin, some of them are saying. So all we can do at this point in time is wait. In the Senate, it is increasingly looking like Democrats are not going to take the Senate. Now, this was my prediction until very recently, at which point I said there is a path for Democrats in the Senate. But you might recall that for the last 3 years, I've been saying, based on what's up in the Senate in 2020, I don't think Democrats have a shot. My belief was 2020 has to be the year of taking the presidency, and 2022 may be the year of Democrats taking the Senate. Because of some very favorable polling and the feeling of momentum over the last couple of months, there was a credible path for Democrats to take the Senate. It's conceivable it could happen, but it is not looking particularly likely. But a very interesting Senate race is in Georgia. In Georgia, incumbent Republican David Perdue appeared to be winning easily in a three-way race, most prominently against Democratic challenger Jon Ossoff. As of right now, David Perdue, the incumbent Republican in Georgia, is hovering right at the 50% mark in terms of the vote in Georgia. This is relevant because given that it's a three-way race, if no candidate gets a majority of the vote, meaning if David Perdue ends up with 49.9% or 49.8% of the vote, there would be a runoff between Perdue and Ossoff, the second place challenger. And that would be a brand new Senate race and potentially a seat that could be flipped. So we're going to be watching that. And then, of course, we're also looking at the numbers in the House. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't have to do it now. I am not going to participate in the stuff of now as it's looking okay for Biden. And, knock on wood, there are already leftists starting to criticize Joe Biden. We're going to take things a step at a time. We'll criticize Joe Biden if he becomes president and does things we don't like. OK, we're not getting into that. Where at some point we will have to have a real not a mea culpa, but a real accounting for the problems of the Democratic Party is that it is pointed to by the House numbers is the point that I'm making. Many predictions saying, Democrats are going to dramatically expand their lead in the House of Representatives. And it does not yet appear as though that is happening, although in 2018, we had to wait a little while for that to be adjudicated. But there is no question that we have to be able to hold two ideas in our head at the same time. On the one hand, yes, many Trumpists are ignorant. Yes, many Trumpists are uninformed. Many are not good people. Many see themselves as fighting a war, as I said yesterday, where facts don't matter and they must defend their leader no matter what. That is true. And so part of why Republicans did not get crushed the way some predicted, has to do with Trumpists. But we have to be able to, at the same time, say, if the Democratic Party, faced with arguably the most incompetent president in the modern political era, arguably the worst major country response to the pandemic in the world, complete mishandling of the economy, on and on and on. If given all of that, Democrats end up losing seats in the House, we can't just blame Trumpists. And that's exactly how Democrats will continue to lose if they say it's just stupid Trumpists, because it's not. It's partially stupid Trumpists. The Democratic Party has responsibility, and we're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be Monday. Maybe it'll be the following month. I don't know when it's going to be, but I am taking notes. I have copious notes, as some like to say, about the failings of the Democratic Party, and there will be a time for that. So I know people have started emailing me saying, David, why aren't you talking about this, that, the other thing about the Democratic? It's not time yet. We do things when it is the time to do it. I even got emails this morning from people saying, how do you see 2024? No, guys, no. When in 2017, people asked me about 2020, I said, we've got a midterm first. We need to focus on the midterm. We are not even done with this election yet. So we are going to take it a step at a time, as I always insist that we should be doing. Glad you're with us today. I will be live later today. I hope you will join me on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook with continued results. We've got a great bonus show for you today. We will talk about Trump's lawsuits. We will talk about Rudy Giuliani and Eric Trump's stunt in Philadelphia. We will talk about Trump's spiritual advisor, I guess, trying to strike out the demons that may be preventing Donald Trump from winning. We have all of it. And I want to hear what is on your mind. I am on Twitter at @DPakman. Make sure you're following me there.